Last night in the PMAC against Georgia in a rematch, LSU for the third time in 4 SEC games got a nail-biting 1-point victory, beating the Bulldogs this time not on a last-second shot, but by blocking a last-second shot twice in the last few seconds. You'll remember on January 24th in Athens, Jordan Wright had a last-second 3-point shot go halfway down the bucket and then pop out, and LSU ended up losing to Georgia 68-66. It was a different story last night in the PMAC.
All right, Kent, just so proud of our players. Obviously, the game wasn't a thing of beauty, but at the end of the day, the goal is to win by any means necessary. First half, I loved our offensive execution, sharing of the basketball, elite shooting, minus the turnovers. And the turnovers really prevented us from building a larger lead there in the first half. Credit to Georgia, really nice play there at the buzzer to generate a little momentum on the tip in. And then came out, and I thought really were the aggressor in the second half. But with all that said, we were not very good offensively in the second half. But when they took the lead, they clearly had all the momentum. And I think it says a lot about our players, the toughness, the grit, to find a way to make enough plays there in the last minute to get the win.
LSU has 3 SEC games remaining. Vanderbilt Saturday at Vanderbilt, Arkansas next Wednesday night, and then back home against Missouri. They should win all 3 of those games. Now, Arkansas is playing a lot better in the last few weeks, almost a new team from the start of the season. LSU did demolish them the last time they played Arkansas, so LSU has the confidence going into the game. If LSU beats Vanderbilt and beats a tougher Arkansas, LSU will come back to play against a winless Missouri to close out the season, and if they win that game, as they should, they'll be 10-8 in the SEC. And that, my friends, puts you in the NIT for sure. And it may even have you knocking at the door for a possible NCAA berth. Now, it's a remote chance, not far-fetched, that LSU goes 10-8, because they probably will, especially if they play the same way they did against Georgia, Kentucky, and South Carolina in those big wins. Now, I'd love for them to win these games by more than 1 point, because at this point, I don't think I have any nails left to bite over these basketball games. This is Camryn Conner with Tiger Rag Audibles. I'm going to be sitting down here in a few minutes and talk with Will Nickel, the assistant editor of Tiger Rag, who was covering that thriller last night in the PMAC. So we'll get his take on what's going down with this team. Then we're going to talk about LSU Baseball because they have their first road trip of the season tonight. They're 7-1, but their competition tonight will be getting better. They're playing Rice tonight, and then Texas on Friday, ULL on Saturday, and Texas State on Sunday. The news and sports director of the Louisiana Radio Network, Jeff Palermo, and the editor of Tiger Rag, Todd Horne, will be sitting down with Bill Franques, the longtime sports information director of the LSU Baseball program. That's today's lineup, and we'll be right back with Will Nickel.
Learning and reading through cuisine? Huh? Join the East Baton Rouge Parish Library for its One Book, One Community series in March and April. Come by your nearest library and get a copy of the 2024 selection, Tasting History by Max Miller, to explore the past and immerse yourself in culture through cuisine. To learn more, visit readonebook.org.
Hey, Will, another nail-biter for LSU, and I'm slowly starting to lose my nail beds as we speak. How was the atmosphere last night in the PMAC during this game?
Yeah, they keep playing, besides the Mississippi State game, the last 4 or 5 games have just been right down to the wire, and it's been really close games for the last few weeks.
They won 3 of their 4 last games. Two of those against top 25 opponents, South Carolina and Kentucky. Both, like you said, by 1 point, both huge nail-biters. How do you feel about the final 3 regular season games in the lineup with Vanderbilt this Saturday, followed by Arkansas and Missouri?
I think, they have a really good chance of finishing the season, winning 4 straight games. Vanderbilt's not really a good team. Arkansas, they beat earlier in the season, and Arkansas is kind of on and off. They've had their struggles this season. And then the same thing with Missouri. Missouri's just not really a great team, especially in the SEC this season. So I really don't see any reason why they can't finish the season on a 4-game win streak.
So will you agree with my statement that if they'll be 10-8, they'll go to the NIT, possible NCAA bid?
You'll have to see how other games fall, but I think if they make a good run in the SEC tournament, definitely a possibility.
And then back to last night's game against Georgia. Their last time meeting with Georgia, they lost 68-66. What do you think it says about this LSU team now having won this time around?
I think they were just dropping the close games for the first few close games they had. They were just not getting it done right at the wire. But I think the wins over South Carolina, Kentucky really showed them that we can get this done in a close game right at the finish. And I think it's given them a lot of confidence. And I think going forward, they're in a close game in the future, they're going to feel way more confident than they have been in the past, just because the wins over South Carolina, Kentucky were so big for them. And then, the win over Georgia now, I think they've proven that they can do it in the clutch.
I definitely think confidence is going to be a huge factor in how the next 3 games play out for LSU, especially with Arkansas. Like you said, they kind of have sucked, for lack of better words, beginning of the season, but it's a new team that we're seeing almost with Arkansas, so I think it's going to be a lot of confidence-based. But how do you think the depth is affected in this LSU team due to Jalen Cook still being out with what we presume is a hamstring injury?
Right. Sometimes they call it a lower leg injury, but we've heard hamstring, so kind of wishy-washy there. But he's day-to-day. Obviously, you want Cook out there. He's one of the better players on the team. I mean, it's him and Jordan Wright. They're probably the 2 best players on the team. But they've been getting really good performances from other players. I mean, Jalen Reed's been putting in really good performances. Tyrell Ward. Mike Williams had a few good threes, and then Trey Hannibal, obviously, has just been running the offense really well. I think you want Cook out there, but at the end of the day, the whole team has been playing really well in this stretch, and they can make it without him if he can't return.
What do you think McMahon's going to be drilling into this team during practice up until the game to help them with their turnover rate? Because we saw 13-point lead at halftime. LSU had 11 turnovers in the first half, stopping them from having a bigger margin what they could have initially had going into the second half of the game.
I think that the turnovers haven't really been a problem until these last 2 games, really. I think against South Carolina, Kentucky, and even Florida, they didn't really struggle with the turnovers that much. But then all of a sudden against Mississippi State and Georgia, they've been having trouble with it. I think maybe, just slowing things down and letting Trey Hannibal, run the offense more. And I think probably just taking their time more on offense will help them get back to how they were doing. Coming into the Mississippi State game, they weren't really having trouble with turnovers. So I think it's more of a tough stretch of the season for them that they're just, having a lot of turnovers right here. But I think they'll definitely improve that over the next couple games.
Looking ahead, LSU faces Vanderbilt on the road in their next game, scheduled for Saturday at 2:30 on the SEC Network. The LSU baseball team will be on the field again tonight against Rice in Houston. Here's Bill Franques, the longtime sports information director of the LSU baseball program, to talk about this weekend's roundup of baseball with Jeff and Todd.
Joining us now, the sports information director for the LSU baseball program, Bill Franques, joining us on Tiger Rag Radio. Bill, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Jeff, I'm doing really well. Good to hear from you guys. Looking forward to a trip to Houston. I think I'm going to head over in the morning. Team's already there. They left yesterday to get acclimated to new surroundings. First road game of the season.
And this is making this trip to Texas and playing in Texas means a lot to the program, right, Bill?
That's one of the first things that Jay pointed out was that Houston, as you guys know, is such a huge LSU alumni base. There are more alumni outside of Louisiana. There are more alumni in Houston than anywhere else. So that's one factor. The other factor is Houston is rich in baseball talent. Jay has said it's a huge recruiting area. Houston, East Texas, produces so many great ball players. So Jay looks at it not only as an opportunity for this 2024 team to play in a great environment, but also with an eye toward the future. Some of the young ball players will see LSU playing in a major league ballpark and how attractive that could be to future prospects.
So, Bill, before we sort of dig into the first 8 games of the season and then what to expect moving forward this week in Texas, can you tell everyone how to actually watch the games this week? Because I know there's a little bit of difference in how to catch them.
Sure. Todd, I would say the easiest way is they're going to be available completely free online. The Astros have several social media channels and where you can log on and there's no paywall. Everything's completely free. The Astros website, which is astros.com, will air all the games. You can also go to the Astros channels on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can go to the Astros site on Facebook. You can go to the Astros site on YouTube. All 4 of those social media platforms that are run by the Astros will show the games completely free and all live. That's the first answer. Now the Astros television network that does their games it's a new network called the Space City Home Network. Space City Home Network is more conventional television network. Mm-hmm. They're also televising all the games, but of course you'd have to have that particular network in your cable or satellite package. Cool. So Space City Home Network is available on platforms like DirecTV and AT&T Uverse and several others. And then the final option, MLB Network, which of course is a part of many cable and satellite packages. MLB Network will show the Saturday game between LSU and UL Lafayette live at 7 o'clock. However, there's one caveat there. Because of the Astros agreement and their television restrictions, the MLB Network telecast is blacked out in the Astros viewing areas, which, of course, unfortunately includes Louisiana. So nationally, MLB Network will show the game nationally except within the viewing area of the Astros, which includes Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma.
Got it.
So, again, the short answer is the easiest option, totally free. You can watch on a computer, a phone, on a smart TV. Hook up your smart TV to a device. You can see the games live on any Astros social media channel, astros.com, Facebook, YouTube, and X. Second option, if you have Space City Home Network, that's an option. And then final option, MLB Network, if you happen to live outside of the Astros viewing area, which I know most of your listeners do not. So that'd be option number 3.
So let's talk about the 7-1 Tigers, where they are right now. Of course, losing to Stony Brook was a disappointment, but I guess if I had to summarize the first 8 games, I would say good pitching, up and down offense. Of course, there's been some weak pitching, a couple of different innings, but it's really been limited.
Right.
And when I look
I agree.
And when I look at the batting, the offensive performance right now, I see 2 freshmen, Stephen Milam and Jake Brown, in the top 4 in hitting batting average right now.
Milam and Brown, they've both been very impressive. Brown had established himself throughout the fall and in the spring as a potential starter. And, of course, he was in the lineup on opening day, and that was no surprise. Stephen Milam, although he was very highly recruited coming out of New Mexico, Jay mentioned that he really did not have a good fall at all. Didn't really struggled at acclimating to baseball at this level. However, when they came back from Christmas break and started preseason workouts in January, he was a different ball player, and I think you're seeing evidence of the kind of ball player he is right now. I mean, the kid's just been phenomenal, both defensively and at the plate. He's very versatile. He can hit from both sides of the plate. He can run. Plays exceptional defense. I think he's going to be a very special player. They both are, both Brown and Milo, for sure.
And then, of course, Tommy White got off to a kind of a slow start, but he's turned it around. He's leading the team in actual number of hits. But, of course, he's got more at-bats than anybody else above him. And Paxton Kling. Is anybody else other than Hayden and Mac Bingham and, of course, Jerry? I guess the entire lineup has been impressive is what I'm getting at.
You're right. Yeah, I think, Todd, you're right. They've all contributed in some way. I don't think anyone has been just off the charts so far offensively, but they've all had their moments. I got to throw Brady Neal in there, too. Brady had a huge day on opening weekend when he had a grand slam and 6 RBI in one game. So, yeah, they've all had their moments. I think what Jay's looking for, of course, is consistency throughout the lineup, where more guys have good days in one day than just a couple having a good day in a single game. I think he was a little frustrated on Saturday. Even though the Tigers won the game on Saturday over Northern Illinois, he was really frustrated with the offensive approach. He felt like the Tigers were not following what has come to be LSU's trademark plan of a very patient and deliberate approach at the plate, not swinging at pitches that the pitcher wants you to swing at. He felt like they were too anxious, too aggressive, and not patient enough, and that contributed to perhaps their slow start offensively. We saw much more of a characteristic LSU offense on Sunday, granted against a Stony Brook pitching staff that was on its 4th game in 4 days. So, we need to continue to evaluate, obviously. Competition ramps up this week. Of course, Rice tomorrow night. They always have a very strong program. And, of course, it really gets tougher, I should say, with Texas on Friday night and UL Lafayette on Saturday. And, of course, Texas State on Sunday also with a very good program. So we'll learn a lot about the team this week for sure.
Hey, Bill, has Jay named a starter for Friday night at Texas yet? I'm expecting it to be Lou Coleman, but I don't know that for a fact yet.
He has not at this point, Todd. I can tell you that I'm not speaking of another freshman who's going to make a big impact this year. Tomorrow night's starter at Rice will be Cade Anderson, a freshman left-hander out of Covington. Had Tommy John surgery as a senior in high school. Otherwise, if he doesn't get hurt last year in high school, he's probably in pro ball right now. That's how good this kid can be. But he did have Tommy John surgery. Decided to come to college to get bigger and stronger and more proficient, and to continue to develop. And he got to start the first weekend of the season. He didn't pitch at all last weekend with an eye toward pitching him in a starting role against Rice tomorrow night. So looking forward to seeing Anderson tomorrow night. As far as the weekend, I think you'll see Holman, Hurd, perhaps Gage Jump in some order. Those 3 guys are your 3 most likely starters. It'll be interesting to see. And Javen Coleman, of course, has acquitted himself very well in his 2 starts. So the Tigers do have a lot of options.
Yeah, you certainly do. Bill, thanks a lot for your time, man. We'll enjoy your time in Texas, and we'll talk again here soon.
It's your time to move things forward. U.S. Army Reserve.
All right, that's it for today's episode. Tonight, the LSU baseball team will be playing against Rice at 7 p.m. The women's basketball team will be on the court tomorrow night against Georgia at 8 p.m. on ESPN2. Stay tuned to TigerRag.com for more updates on all things LSU, and I'll be back